Welcome back to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli, walking with purpose. And today I have a very important message for the women. Yesterday it was about the men and a man's purpose, if you saw that video. If not, go back and check it out. Today we're going to flip it to the other side and we're going to talk about women and their purpose, although we're not going to title it their purpose because it just doesn't sound right. And a man's and woman's purpose are technically different, but in this modern world, because they are, independent and liberated and doing pretty much the same things that men have always done, they do have a purpose, but it's not referred to as the same way as a man's purpose. So let's get to the topic here today, and I'll share with you what I mean. The topic is career-focused women versus family-focused women. One more time. Career-focused women versus family-focused women. This has been one of the hottest topics discussed on the internet. And I'm going to have to try to work my way around here because there are a lot of people playing, some kids over there. And I'm just going to keep it quiet here for a second. I've got my audio set to a good level, so you should still be able to hear me. So, let's talk about career-focused women versus family-focused women and how this affects a woman's purpose. If we once again, like I mentioned yesterday, go back to the days of traditionalism, okay, before women got equal rights and they became independent and they were liberated in ways they are today, okay, which is great that they had that, but it's changed things. It's definitely changed things, right? Okay. A woman's purpose back in those days was to be the homemaker, the housewife, right? They used to call them housewives. Nowadays, the few women that don't want to work and still want to be housewives, the professional modern term is called homemaker, right? I know that because I used to sell insurance, and whenever you would sell a policy to a husband and wife, right? You would need both of their pieces of information, including what they do for a living. And sometimes if I was talking to the husband, and I would ask, okay, what does your wife do for a living? She takes care of the family and the kids. Okay, homemaker. I would say homemaker, and they would say, like, well, what, come again? Well, that's the professional term, that we put on the application, and that's no problem. She's the homemaker, right? All right, I'm gonna sit here and wait for these cars to decide to go. These kids decide to walk across the street. Okay. Whew, man. It's not a bad day today. It's a little bit warmer today than yesterday, but still a little chilly. Not cold enough to wear the gloves. I was doing a live stream yesterday. I'm recording this. I'm batch recording these videos on Tuesday, December 7th. And yesterday I did a live stream here for the first time this year here in the San Francisco Bay Area where I live. I had to put on my gloves, but today it's a little bit warmer, but still cool enough to wear a jacket. Okay. So back then, a woman's purpose was to be the homemaker, right? Nothing wrong with that. Nowadays, if you're a man and you try to get a woman to be a homemaker, and in some cases women still want to be a homemaker, but the majority of women nowadays, if you even mention homemaker or housewife, they want to whoop your, let's just say, rear end hiney, to be kind and polite, not only to the women, but to the YouTube artificial intelligence, right? Okay. So what's happened in the modern world? In the modern world, women, are now empowered. They have the same rights that men only once had. And, they're working careers that once were only done by men. For example, executive positions in a corporation, like a vice president or a director of whatever operations, director of operations, director of sales, whatever, right? Okay? Now, nothing wrong with women doing those jobs, and women are good at those jobs. And in many cases, they've surpassed men and become better at those jobs than men. But what has that done to a woman's natural biological essence? It's flipped their polarity to exude more masculine energy than feminine energy. I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again, and I'll talk about it till eternity until people get this, because this is what people don't understand nowadays. That's why I have to repeat myself. Repetition's a mother of skill, right? And because of the women's movement, and a lot of women out there flexing their muscles towards our younger women, saying to these women that you need to go to college, get a college degree, get a career, get settled in your career, get promoted in your career, buy your home, buy your car, get yourself fully settled before you even start thinking about settling down and getting married and having a family, right? Okay? That's what women are being told. They're being indoctrinated into this culture at a young age. It starts off, when they're teenagers, even as early as 13 or even younger, throughout grammar school. It continues throughout high school. It gets worse throughout high school. And then once they get into college, oh man, at that point, like, they're fully indoctrinated into this culture of, I got to get my degree. I got to, make my own money. I got to get to this level before I start even thinking about doing what my natural and biological essence was created to be by a higher power, which is to get married and have a family, have children, and raise those children and live happily ever after, right? Okay? So in essence, what this has done to women, it has forced them out of their natural biological essence of what their purpose was made to be. Now, no disrespect to the working woman and women that, want to focus more on their careers than having a family and finding a good guy and dating him for a while and then getting married and all that. Nothing wrong with a woman wanting to go the career route. But just know, most decent men are not going to settle down with women like that, while they're going to college and doing all that. And then here's where the real issue starts to happen. I've talked about it before, and I'll say it again. The real issue starts to happen is when women finally get settled in. They go to college throughout their 20s, some 4 years, some 8 years, depending on what they do. If they want to become an attorney or a doctor, they're looking at 8 years of school, right? And if they go to school right out of college and just work their butt off, they're going to be 26, 27 by the time they get their degree, right? And then what happens? They got to get a job, get settled in, work a couple, 2, 3 years, save enough money to pay off their student loans, right? Now you've got, if you're going to medical school, I hear college has gone up to $300,000 or $400,000 over the course of 4 to 8 years. I mean, colleges and universities, they've tremendously gone up in price. So now you're in massive debt. Maybe you got some student loans to help a bit, but regardless, you're in massive debt. You're working a few years to hopefully drop down that debt to a reasonable level and have enough money to put a down payment on a house. You buy a house, this and that, right? So at this point, you're looking at a woman being at the youngest 30, typically more so 31 or 32 or 33. By the time a woman is fully settled and has gone through all of the schooling and settled into her career, and she's purchased her own home, her own car or cars, and has everything ready, she's 31, 32, 33, right? But what have they forgotten during this entire time? They forgot about their biological clock, right? Because once a woman hits 30, the biological clock starts to rapidly tick, and it ticks even faster when she reaches 35. By the time she hits 40, her chance of fertility, I believe, drops down to 5%, right? Okay? And then you have women saying, you know, where have all the good guys gone? Guys are just using me for sex. Guys my age are going for younger women. Well, that's because as a man gets older, his value goes up, right? Now, I'm not trying to be critical to women. You know, as a woman gets older, her SMV, also known as sexual market value, goes down. This is not to be said in a mean way. What all this means is that as a woman ages, her level of fertility declines, and she's less likely to have, children overall, or if she's still even able to get pregnant, the pregnancies are a higher risk. The best time for women to have children are in their 20s, and maybe at the latest their early 30s. After that, the risk factor tremendously skyrockets, right? Okay, so you have guys that are in their 30s now, and they're not going for these women that are 30, 31, 32, right? They're going for women that are in their 20s. Why? Because these guys have, gotten their shit together, right? And as men age, men will age like fine wine, okay? I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm all that. I'm almost 48 years old. I think I look good for my age. I'm not trying to be conceited or anything like that, but men and women, they age differently. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some women that do take care of themselves and can look good into their 50s. But regardless, if you're a man that wants to have a family and have kids, you're going to more so be looking at women in their 20s and maybe their early 30s at the latest, 30, 31, maybe 32. If you find someone by the time you're 32, there's still an okay chance of you having maybe 2 to 3 kids if you want to make that happen, right? And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Women, what do women do throughout their 20s? Because they've been indoctrinated into a culture to go to college, get a degree, and not settle down with any guy, right? What happens? Women still have needs. They still have sexual needs, just like men do. We all have that, right? Nothing wrong with that. Women will, have a lot of fun in college, and, I'm going to try to say this as respectful as possible. Women will ride the carousel. I'm just going to call it the carousel. I'm not going to say the other word because it gets pretty derogatory, and I want to keep this professional, right? But women will ride the carousel. Typically, they will date guys that are like a 9 or a 10, the Chads and the Tyrones, right? And what they try to do is they try to lock down the Chads and Tyrones while they're in college because they're going to the same college, right? And they're trying to lock them down so by the time that they're ready to get married, all right, I'm going to wait for this person to go. By the time that they're ready to get married, if they had the Chad or Tyrone locked down, they could just transition from, getting a degree, getting their career, and maybe the Chad or Tyrone is getting their degree and getting their career. They can live happily ever after. The truth of the matter is the Chads and Tyrones don't want that. They're just having fun. They're young and they're having fun. And typically men, I'll be honest, typically men are not really fully ready in this day and age to even consider getting married until they're in their early 30s. And if you haven't noticed, if you look at the divorce stats, and I'll use my lady as an example. She got married when she was 19, and I think her husband was 23. In this modern world, that's way, way, way too young because, men nowadays, like I said, do not mature as fast as men used to mature back in the days of traditionalism, right? There's a lot of reason for that. I won't get into it here today. Maybe another video I will. So that's why you're seeing guys in their early to mid 30s, late 30s, or even early 40s that are dating women in their 20s, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 27-year-olds, and they're getting married to them. Now, the only issue with that is this, is that even our young women nowadays are completely different, right? And, you know, if they're not fully sexually attracted to you and they don't perceive you to be the best looking guy they can get, and the most financially stable and the best provider at the same time while satisfying their other needs, they will end up leaving you, or they'll cheat on you and just use you for your money. You got to be careful about that. But the bottom line is this, is that as men get older, their value increases. And men, when they age like fine wine, right? And with no disrespect, I've heard the stories. My woman's not going to like this, and I don't feel this way about her, but this is what people say. They say women age like cheese and men age like fine wine. What kind of cheese? Like cottage cheese? But anyway, so here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing to you young bucks out there that are in your 20s, whether you're a man or a woman, right? You know, and you're debating what you want to do. You're holding off getting married and having a family. You really want to have a family as a woman, but you want to wait because that's what you've been told by the social stigma, by, you know, being indoctrinated into the feminist agenda. No disrespect, that's just what it is, right? You need to sit there and, as a woman, you need to sit there and have a conversation with yourself. Not even your lady friends. Your lady friends are the worst people you could talk to about this, because all they're going to do is further indoctrinate you into this agenda that they themselves have also been indoctrinated into, right? You sit there by yourself and decide what's best for yourself. If you want a family, if you want to have if you want to get married and have a family and do that, you need to consider starting that before you're 30. Still go to college, get your degree, right? And instead of, you know, in your college years only going after the Chads and Tyrones that you try to lock down and they don't want to be locked down, give some other guys a chance that truly want what you want. Okay? They may not be as attractive physically as the Chads or Tyrones that are a 9 or a 10 on the attraction scale, but they may be like a 7 or an 8, right? And that's another thing, ladies. You got to lower your physical attractive standards a little bit, because I'm seeing lots of women out there that are 4s, 5s, and 6s, and they're turning down men that are 7 and 8s. It's happened to me in the past. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I am, according to society standards, I'm way more physically attractive than this woman that just rejected me because, you know, I'm not physically attractive enough. And it wasn't my personality or my attitude, because I know how to talk with women, and I know how to, you know, make a emotionally strong bond and stir up a great conversation. A lot of these women have unreasonable expectations, and I've talked about that before. Ladies, you got to lower your standards a little bit. Stop focusing on the social stigma. Stop listening to your lady friends about what to do regarding this, because they themselves are in the same position you're in, right? Just take some time for yourself. Go do what I do when I want to think clearly. Go take an Epsom salt bath, right? Try an Epsom salt bath. Soak in an Epsom salt bath for an hour, right? And just sit there and think with a clear head. What's my best next move? And I'm going to make this move for myself without any other outside influence. And when you look at it that way and you start deciding for yourself what's best for you instead of listening to other people, ladies, or your peers, or, you know, the agenda, right? You'll see it'll tremendously change your life. So I hope you all learned something new from this video. Another video is coming to this channel soon. Please like, share, subscribe, bang the bell, Select the notifications, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.